Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is part 2 of the Too Cold to Work Outside projects. I pulled the horn, which we got to go beep beep the last video. I pulled the frame horn off, which we utterly destroy in this video. I make pretty much mincemeat out of it. And the steering box, I wanted to make sure we didn't have any leaks on that before we toss that back in the bus. The output shaft tends to leak. If you're going to have a leak, that's where it's going to be. So we want to make sure that it's not leaking. It's pretty gunky to even tell if you've got a leak or not. So we're going to peel all that stuff off of there and make sure we're good to go. So with that, let's jump to the video. So we've got this frame horn, and it looks like these had what was supposed to be a drain hole in there, but when the drain hole kind of gets plugged up, makes for an interesting rot, I guess. So I am going to attempt to kind of cut this apart so that we can have some sort of a pattern, and these kind of have a curvature to them. This side's all twisted up funny. But I think if I can cut that apart, plus I want to see kind of how this is assembled inside here. So I'm going to first kind of dig all of this stuff out of here and then try and take some kind of a whiz wheel or something and separate these two. I may not be able to. I might just have to cut right along the edge here. But I would like to kind of get inside here and see how that's built and what that looks like. So we'll just dig. We'll dig into that center there. We'll keep track of everything we pull out. So I'll probably time-lapse it here. There's no point in you watching me dig sand and rocks out of here. I figure it's a Michigan bus, so I got a little different digger to dig out of there. Muskegon Heights Furniture Co. Dig out some Michigan sand with a Michigan tool. Why not? As I'm digging it, it's just the chunks are falling apart. And we're finally through where we can see through the whole thing. So initially I was going to kind of peel these two layers apart, but I think this one is so wrecked. There's just no getting a pattern off of that. It's pooched way out here, so it's flattened here. And the whole thing is just kind of ridiculously destroyed. So I'm thinking about just cutting the inside piece out and seeing if we can use that. I don't know how rotted it is inside there, but maybe if we got it apart from here, we'd be able to tell. I don't know. Let's go out and look at the one on the bus. So here's the one that's on the bus. And you can kind of see those curves are actually there. It actually has, that curve there. But one of these things is not like the other. That is not the same curve, and I don't think that lines up very well either. Nah, that's way off. This one's actually in pretty decent shape, so I'm not planning on rebuilding it. It is also packed full though, so we're gonna make sure we get all of that out of there, and we will definitely do an inspection there. Make sure we don't need to rebuild it. That's all I need is to get this thing all back together and then break the other side. But I think this other side's pretty strong. It's definitely not all rotted out like that side was. I've mentioned before, I think they sprayed the undercoating on this bus, and I actually think that's probably what finally did it in. Water got trapped under it. That and the fact it's a Michigan bus. But we do have the transmission bracket here, so we can kind of adjust where we need to be based on that. I think that'll not be terrible to get it to be straight. Yep, so I think I'll cut the end of this off and we'll just see what that looks like. And if it's bad, we'll get the one from the Beetle and we'll start working our way back from there using it. But I think I'm gonna have to come out here and cut out some more of this. Because if I bend that up, you know, the metal's already been compromised. I could gusset it. I've talked about that before. I can straighten this up and then gusset it, but I do think I'm gonna have to come back a little bit further because we're rotted right there too. So I probably have to replace this, pull this bracket off and replace the metal that's underneath it. All right, enough yakking. Let's go get this cut off. See what it looks like on the inside. So I guess the bigger question is, should I grind that off? Let's see what we got. Pretty crunchy in there. I don't know if that's salvageable or not. Well, guys and gals, the more I dig into that, the more I realize that this is a lost cause on this piece. It is so corroded in there. We're starting to see the separation where it's kind of wrapped around. I'm starting to separate it out. But there's so much corrosion on it already that if I get that out of there, and even if I still grind away everything, I think we're just kind of losing some integrity on it. I don't want to whittle so much away that there's nothing good there, especially when I have one of these sitting in the carport off of another vehicle. So it seems kind of pointless to keep chipping away at that. Kind of wanted to see what was inside though. Now we know. Yeah. There's not much of that one left. Yeah. Bummer, dude. Oh well. No big deal. I went ahead and started splitting that apart. I got one side off, and I'm ripping off the other side. I got a little portable vise in here, so it's not as good as my other one, but we at least see how it was made. And we have to grind that side just a little bit more. There's a step down. So it's a collar, comes up and then steps up, or steps down, depending on which side you're on. Let me try and clean that up a little bit. See how much good metal's left in it? Pretty much mangled that piece. Just one of those people that I want to see how things are put together, you know? It's a blessing and a curse, I guess. Yeah, let's see if we can clean that up. Made mincemeat out of the other pieces here. So we'll definitely be rebuilding that. But I gotta get metal for that anyway, so why don't we say we move on to, I brought the steering box in from the last video. We pulled that out, and it's pretty cruddy, pretty gross. Let me say we start kind of tearing into that a little bit, kind of cleaning that up. Probably won't get it completely cleaned up, but we could get a good start on it. That'd be good. Get that drag link off of there. I've got the bolt out, just need to unthread it, pull it off. So we'll get all that apart and kind of start cleaning on that. So this just has a, there is a notch right there that keys your bolt that goes in there. I've got that out, and this collar would slip down so that everything kind of lines up there. Got that out of the way, and then we just need to unthread this. And it's almost not impossible, but almost impossible to do when it's in the bus, because this drag link has that kink in it. So unless you pull that knuckle out. Kind of hard to do. Just need to service all of this stuff though. Well, that's some rusty threads, aren't they? You see okay there? I'm going to go ahead and cut my zip tie off. Somebody said, I don't know how you keep all the parts straight. Well, I put everything in a Ziploc and zip tie it right where it goes, or put any bolts or anything I've taken out. Helps if you use the snips the right way. I try to put everything right back where it goes. So these are just all the bolts to that. Put that off to the side for now. I'm just gonna knock off the rust stuff on this, and then we'll stick it in the, I have a parts washer bucket. Not really a parts washer, but a kerosene bucket. So we'll get all the big stuff off of there, and then stick it in the bucket. You couldn't even tell those were two pieces right there. How's that for grit? Well, I've knocked off all the big chunky mud just using a El Cheapo wire brush for a welder. And a screwdriver, and just gone around and kind of tried to knock off the worst of it anyway before we stick it in the bucket. I am not going to pull the horn wire through there just yet because I can use it to fish up a new one. So we're going to leave that as is for now. And I'm going to stick it down in a bucket of kerosene and kind of let it soak for a bit. And we'll clean it up, and maybe it'll look a little better than it does now. Who knows? Seems a bit extreme, doesn't it? But these are splined, just like a Beetle steering wheel. And I am certain the rust that is in there is just not going to give up. But I don't give up very easily either. So, see if we can do this at the table, or if I need to move back to the floor. Probably should clean my table off first. There's a little divot in that already, and that's what I'm sitting in. It's just, I've got that pretty snug. Just see if we can tap on it. Pardon the mess down here on the floor, but that sucker did not want to come off. So I heated that arm and then put a gear puller on it, and then just kept tapping around. I don't want to touch that, but I just kept tapping around the edge of it with a 2-pound sledge, gently tapping it, and I had let it soak in Freol overnight, and it I don't think that actually is what made it in, but put enough heat to it. So I heated this guy up cherry red. I should have had the camera running, but came off, and it doesn't look like it damaged anything. So I could tell you one thing for sure. That is going to get some never sees on it once we get that back together. I doubt I'll ever have to take that apart when it's on the bus, but I want to be able to. And there was no way I would have got that off of there. Ay, ay, ay. Alright, we'll let that cool off and finish cleaning those parts up. I want to check and see if it has any oil in it too. So we'll let it cool off a little bit where we can touch it. And we'll do a little inspection. See what we got. Yeah, I've just kind of started working with the wire wheel after pulling it out of the kerosene. And it's coming back. I mean, it's not going to be a new out of a new bus, but it is coming back. I thought we would check and see, though, if it has any oil in it. And I have not tried to open this up. I haven't put any lubricant or any kind of WD-40 or anything in there, so I don't know that that's going to come loose, but we're going to try. Stand it up here and see if we can knock that loose and give it a check. Check, check. Check, check, double check. I definitely don't want to break that off if I can help it. Is that light okay? It looks a little dark. Move on the side of you, maybe? Is that better? Man. Let me get it tipped down, see if I can get it loose. That way I can get both hands on it. I just don't want to break it. There we go. I think that's gonna move. Not just twisting it, are we? Alright, it's moving. Look like there's anything in there, and I would think that should kind of pour out. Kind of like the transmission. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in there. Let's see if we can pour anything out at all. I like my coffee, kind of like motor oil, so gear oil, motor oil, kind of the same thing. See if we can get anything in there. I'll have to remember to throw that cup away, or I'll be drinking it. Yeah, it's not bone dry. Got oil in it. Let's drain the rest of that out. It's good that it's not bone dry, though. That might have been it. Was that our run? Oh, there it goes. Doing my lifting exercises for the day. That's all she's got. Kind of goopy there at the end. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything telling me we need to take that apart. Looks fine. There's no shavings or anything weird in there. It was a little goopy coming out, but I think that's okay. So I'm going to fill it up and put the cap back on, and we're going to call that good. I probably will go ahead and break loose. Nope, you can't see what I'm pointing at here. This is the part that actually bolts to the bus, and it's adjustable. And there are a couple of bolts here up into this side. You can see the split right there. So that split will allow this to pivot where it needs to go into the bus. This one's set, and we probably won't need to move it. But I want to make sure that those are broke free, because it'll be a lot easier to do here on the bench than on the bus. And you can see there's like a metal a lock washer that's under both. That's hammered down on them to keep them from backing off. So I'll probably go ahead and make sure those are loose and then just reassemble everything and put it back together. It'll all get oiled, and when it's ready to go back on the bus, it won't get spray painted or anything, just oiled up. And then the adjuster for the steering, I'll probably go ahead and make sure we can move that as well, so that we can make sure if we need to adjust it on the bus, we can. But other than that, that is good to go. Well, I've worked on that for a little while, and I think that's about as far as I'm going to go with it. I got the adjuster nut loose and the screw turns fine. So if we need to put any adjustment in it, we can. I got these two bolts loose that adjust that piece. And I had to dig around and take a wire wheel to it because I knew there was a Volkswagen emblem on it somewhere, and I found it here in this super pitted piece. It's kind of hard to read, but it's right there by my thumb. So yeah, this piece is wrecked. But the good thing is, it's a super thick piece of metal, so I'm not worried about its integrity at all. And I think it's pretty obvious where there was a piece not exposed to the elements. I think that's the only piece on the bus that looks new. But we are going to call that a win. This is what I scraped off of the steering box, and then, of course, what is in the parts washer bucket. This is what we took off of or out of the inside of this frame horn. And I started digging through here because I thought, might be some gold in here. And I found what I think is like a road stripe or a road paint. Hang on just a second. Got a little pick here so you can kind of see where I'm pointing, but there is like a pill bug, I think, right there. Can't get him to focus. There he is. Right there. The forensic scientist in me just could not let this pile of dirt go by without inspecting it. I believe that piece right there is like the yellow stripe from the middle of the road. And then, of course, all sorts of bits of rust and sand and whatnot, but no gold. No gold to pay this project off. So all of that came out what was packed in back this far from here to here on the frame horn. Isn't that crazy? It's quite a bit of stuff. So I whittled the piece that is inside that frame horn, and this is what I came up with, and I think it's usable. So I'm going to try and use that original piece. And the inside threads, can't get it to focus very good, are in pretty decent shape. They're not completely rotted out. So we'll clean those up a little bit, but I think we're going to go ahead and use this piece. I'll just build it like they did. But I was pretty impressed with how well that came back. So it was just wrapped, if you ever wanted to know, just wrapped inside there, and we peeled it back. It cleaned up pretty nice. Not terrible. Usable. I have been kind of contemplating exactly how I'm going to do this, and now that I've taken one apart and see how they did it, it's really not that complicated, so I think we'll be able to handle that just fine. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to sign off for this one, and we'll catch you on the next one. We're outside wrenching and welding on old Pickle the Bus. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Thought I forgot, didn't you? Well, that looks a little better than it did before. You can actually see some volume in there now. That was definitely pretty well bone dry, even though it wasn't completely dry. So the good thing about doing it now, setting it out, I'll just set this out and we'll see if we've got any leaks before we stick it back on the bus. I don't anticipate any, but we shall see, shan't we? All better. Just thought I'd mention that when I heat it up where the putman on hooks in, right here on the output shaft, there is a seal that is there. And when I heated it, I didn't want to damage it, so I did put a heat shield and a little flashing piece around it. But it's been sitting here in the shop now for several days, and we don't have any leaks, nothing on the floor where it was sitting. So I think we got it. And it looks clean enough really to put back on the bus. So I am good with it. Count it a win. I just knew some of you would probably be picking at me about that. But if it's gonna leak, it's usually output shaft. And I did get that pretty hot, so if it was gonna leak, it'd be leaking there probably. I think we're good.